Namaskar everyone and welcome to this Gita Satsang. Sorry we got late a little bit today. Anyway, let's start. We'll start with the Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Gita Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let us chant the shlokas. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranata Klesha Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namostu Te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Ullara Vindaya Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagyabhushanam Srimad-Venkatanathāryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityamachyutapadambujayukma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmadguror Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So with prayers at the lotus feet of the Acharyas, let us take up the shloka for today. So in the previous satsang, we had stopped at the 34th shloka. So today we are going to take up shloka number 35. So in this, Krishna is telling Arjuna, and it's a very important shloka, which has many different kinds of explanations that are given. So in the 35th shloka, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. So here Krishna is talking about two concepts. He is talking about something called swadharma, which is swa means our own self. So one's own duty, dharma, and something called paradharma. So he is telling Arjuna that it is far better to perform one's natural prescribed duty, even if it is tinged with faults, even if there are mistakes in doing that. This is better than what? Better than to perform another person's prescribed duty, even if you do it perfectly. In fact, it is preferable to die in the discharge of one's duty than to follow the path of another, which is full of danger, which is fraught with danger. So let us understand more in detail about this shloka. So today we will be taking up only this one shloka, and we'll try to understand what is the meaning of that. So we have seen in the previous shloka how Lord Krishna advised that likes and dislikes, all the natural tendencies, the vasanas, right? They are very difficult to overcome. Now, if somebody has to do Jnana Yoga, he has to overcome all these tendencies. Just 1 minute, please. So, in the previous shloka, Krishna has told Arjuna that the vasanas, the likes and dislikes that we have, they are very powerful. And because these are things which have come with us over so many janmas, it is very difficult to overcome those tendencies. So doing Jnana Yoga requires us to concentrate the mind, requires us to focus the mind, right? And it requires us to overcome all these things. But that is very difficult. So instead, let those things be the way they are. You don't struggle to suppress them or to overcome them. Instead, you keep doing karma in the right way. And as you do karma yoga, slowly, slowly, you will start getting purified. And you will find that it is easier to get over these tendencies or the vasanas. Now, Arjuna is, in his mind, he has a doubt. Now, Krishna is telling that because there is difficulty in Jnana Yoga, you do Karma Yoga. But even when we are doing Karma Yoga, does it mean that there will be no difficulties at all? Because if you actually look at it, Jnana Yoga means doing nothing, sitting quietly. And isn't that easier? Doing something is a tedious task. Doing something requires hard work from our side. And it will get tiring. Now, whether it is actions in our daily life that we are doing, or it is the spiritual actions that we are performing, like whatever is prescribed. There are certain specific danas to be done every day, whatever puja we are doing, on special occasions, if we are doing tarpanam, if we are doing some other vidhi, all this is quite tiring because it is very disciplined work. There are specific guidelines which are laid down. There are rules to be followed. We have to do as per whatever the Shastras have prescribed, isn't it? And to do all this, it is going to be tiring. So there will be difficulties in this also, isn't it? Then here the commentators give us the example that this Raja Harishchandra, I think everybody is aware of his story. We don't need to know about that story in detail here, but we know that he was somebody who always stood by the truth, and he gave, once he gave his word, he would stand by that. And then later, despite all that, he had to undergo so much suffering. So it is told that why this Raja had to undergo so much suffering? Because at the time when he was performing ablutions, he had not washed the back of his feet completely. So for that one error, for that one mistake, for that one, what you say, wrong deed that he did, he was punished with all this suffering. Now, if that is the case of Harishchandra, what is our case? There are many people among us who don't have bath for days together. There are people, many times we postpone having our bath. We do things which are not supposed to be done, isn't it? So imagine our case. So if this is the case and we are not doing, we are saying, okay, we are going to do Karma Yoga. But if we are not going to do that in the proper way, then will it not be dangerous for us like that? So in that context, it is that Arjuna is being taught about Swadharma and Paradharma. So generally, whenever many other acharyas have given their, explanations, commentaries for this, they talk of Swadharma and Paradharma with respect to what is the duty of somebody as per their varna and as per their ashrama. However, there is a little difference in the way Swami Ramanujacharya has commented about this. So anyway, let us understand first about what is Ramanujacharya's commentary, and later we will go to those other concepts of other paths, so that we understand, because those also have some meaning for us and we can try and follow some of those concepts. So in Swami Ramanuja's commentary, he talks about Swadharma. Swa is self. So who is this self? Arjuna. So what is Arjuna's dharma? In the context of what has been told in the previous shloka, this performing karma yoga is swadharma. That is because it is familiar. It is something which you have been doing in all your janmas. So that karma yoga is familiar to you, and because it is familiar to you, it is swadharma. Now, Jnana Yoga is something which is not familiar to you. You have never before done all those practices which are required to be done as a part of Jnana Yoga. So that is something which is unfamiliar to you. So that is not your dharma. That is somebody else's dharma. It is for other people. It is for people who have achieved a high level of purification and so on. So that paradharma is not for you. So that is how it is explained in this Sri Vaishnava philosophy. That Ramanujacharya says that Krishna is telling Arjuna, your dharma, what is your swadharma now? Doing whatever is told as per Karma Yoga. And what is Paradharma? Jnana Yoga. The Karma Yoga is familiar to you. Jnana Yoga is unfamiliar to you. So when you perform, as we have seen, what is your natural prescribed duty? What is your Swadharma? It is Karma Yoga. Now, even if you do Karma Yoga with faults, with mistakes, that is far superior than to do Paradharma, although perfectly. Paradharma is Jnana Yoga. So what Krishna is telling Arjuna is that even if you do Karma Yoga and it has few defects in it, it's okay. It is still superior to doing Jnana Yoga with perfection, because for you, Swadharma is Karma Yoga. Now, Arjuna says that how can it be? We know, like that example of Harishchandra, we know that if we do some mistakes in whatever karmas we are doing, there is bound to be some result which comes from it. So if I do Karma Yoga and there are mistakes in that, there are faults in that, doesn't it mean that I will not get the phala? How can it be that I will do some action, I will do it wrongly, I will make mistakes while doing that action, and still I will get phala? Is that possible? That is just not possible, because it's not the law of karma. So Arjuna has this doubt in his mind. So Krishna is trying to explain to him that, correct, what Arjuna is saying, that if there are mistakes, how will it give the result? That's a valid question. But that whole concept that if you do mistakes and you do perform karma, you will not get the benefits. Or like in the case of Raja Harishchandra, you do karma and you make mistakes in that, you will have to, undergo some suffering for that. You will accumulate papa. That concept is applicable when you're doing the karma for some inferior benefits. Like, for example, if I have taken a vow that I am going to always speak the truth. Now, my vow, my, vrata is that I'm going to speak the truth. Now, I'm just doing it as a psychological level thing, that it is not proper to speak lies. So I'm vowing that I will never speak lies and I will always speak the truth. So here, when I fail to keep that vow, there is bound to be some outcome for that. Now, suppose I had to say that I am going to try and be truthful all the time, because by being truthful, I'm going to please the Lord and the Lord will be happy. That is the reason why I want to be truthful, because that is what the Lord has told in the Shastras. When with that Shraddha, I practice this action of always speaking the truth, then the outcome, the result, or the purpose for which I'm doing has changed. So whenever we do karma for some inferior benefits, let us say in the Vedas, it is told that you do this particular homa to get some material benefit. You do some other homa to get fame. You do some other homa to, get a good status in your life and things like that. So if you perform those things, why you are doing it? Why you are performing that homa? Because you want that benefit whichever is prescribed in it. Now, are those benefits inferior or superior? You are doing what is told in the Vedas. But what is the superior benefit at every time? The objective of attaining moksha is the most superior goal. We have already seen this in previous satsangs, isn't it? So whenever we do some action for the superior objective of attaining moksha, then that superior objective is our goal. And when we are in the process of doing that, if we make some mistakes, still there is no punishment that comes to us. But if we are doing any karma for some inferior benefits and we make mistakes, then yes, we will definitely have to bear the effects of that. So what is Krishna telling Arjuna to do? He's telling Arjuna, fight in this war. That is this karma, that is the karma which is your swadharma. So that fighting, why you are supposed to do that, why Arjuna has to fight, according to Krishna, don't fight because you want to get the kingdom. Don't fight because you want to kill your enemies. Fight because by doing your dharma as a kshatriya, by fighting only you are going to get moksha. Fight because it is your objective to give a good rajya to the praja. Do you understand? So this is what is the meaning of saying what is the objective of performing karma. So if somebody is doing karma for inferior benefits and they make mistakes in that, there are faults and defects in that karma, then yes, they have to bear the consequences. But if there is some karma which is done for the superior objective of getting moksha, then whatever happens, even if you make mistakes, even if there are defects, even if your action is not perfect, it does not fail to yield results. It will definitely give results. And whatever actions we are doing in this birth, the results will carry over to the next birth also. Let us say I did a certain amount of chanting. I spent a particular amount of time in satsang. I tried to do seva of a particular level in this janma. Now, when I die at the end of this birth, what is going to happen to me? I will be born in a family where my sadhana will continue from this level where I was in this janma. So I will get a conducive kind of environment and I can pursue my sadhana further. So whatever actions I did in this birth, the results will carry over to the next birth also. And if you remember, we said that performing action is the basic vasana that we have. That is our basic tendency. Not performing action, following the path of Jnana Yoga, is against our natural tendency. So now when Krishna is telling that if you do some karma in this birth, you will get the benefits and you will continue forward in the next birth. Arjuna is saying, then Jnana Yoga also it will happen. No, if I have done certain amount of dhyana and I have got certain amount of purification in this Janma, will I not take off from that level in the next Janma? That is true to some extent. But the very fact remains that again, in the next Janma, I have to apply effort to overcome the tendencies of the vasanas. I have to put in effort to overcome raga and dvesha. So to get that mental state which is required for Jnana Yoga, although I may have little benefit because I had done in the previous Janma, still we need to practice more and more to be able to get to that stage in the next Janma. Whereas for karma, karma is naturally coming to us. The only thing is that what is the objective with which we are doing the karma? We have to get that sorted out. And once that is done, there is definitely it is easier for us to pursue that karma yoga. And that is why Lord says that if you have to do something and you're expecting those results to carry over further, when you do it in the path of karma yoga, it's guaranteed that you will continue from there because you are used to karma yoga, because karma yoga is familiar to you. That is your swadharma. Jnana yoga is paradharma. It is not your own. It is some other people's dharma. So for you to think that you will pursue Jnana yoga and be able to get all the benefits, even if there are defects, it is not going to be possible. That is why he says it is dangerous. It is fraught with danger. Right. So this is what is explained for this shloka as per the Ramanuja Sampradaya. Now there are other concepts for Swadharma and Paradharma. So there are some people who talk of this in terms of the Varnashrama Vyavastha. Now we know that there are 4 Varnas, the Brahmana Varna, the Kshatriya Varna, the Vaishya Varna, and the Shudra Varna. And for each of these Varnas, there are particular actions which are prescribed, isn't it? Like for the Brahmana, his duty, his dharma is to study the scriptures, to explain the meanings of the scriptures to other people, to make sure that everybody has the knowledge which they require to lead a righteous life. The Kshatriya's role, what is his duty? His dharma is to protect the people. What is the Vaishya's dharma? To earn by righteous means and to use that for the good of society, to give to the Brahmanas and to other people also. And what is the Shudra's dharma? It is to do service with the body. So like this is the duties according to the Varna. Then there are duties according to the ashrama. What are the ashramas? Brahmacharya ashrama, which is the period of study. Grihastha ashrama, which is the householder life. Then Vanaprastha ashrama, which is the phase of retirement from active life and preparing to focus on spiritual practices. And finally, we have Sannyasa ashrama, where it is complete renunciation of this worldly life. So now we can hear when some commentators explain, they say that Arjuna is a Kshatriya. So as a Kshatriya, what is his Swadharma? To fight. Now what Arjuna is saying? He's saying, I don't want to fight. I will go away. Let everybody else live happily. I don't want to be part of this fight. So he wants to take the path of ahimsa. Now that ahimsa is Swadharma for the Brahmana. The Brahmana is not expected to go and fight. He is supposed to teach people that don't be violent and don't, make use of violent means to solve your problems and so on. So for the Brahmana, ahimsa is his Swadharma. But for the Kshatriya, ahimsa is not Swadharma. Ahimsa is Paradharma. So if a Kshatriya like Arjuna says that I will not follow my Swadharma of fighting against injustice and instead I will follow the path of ahimsa, what will happen very soon? There will be anarchy. There will be arajaka, because all the elements who have to be kept in check by force, right? They will be free to act as they want. And when such elements are going to act as they want, then what is going to happen? There will be anarchy and chaos everywhere. Then there will be no stability in social life, isn't it? So like this, some acharyas, some philosophies, they explain this concept of Swadharma and Paradharma. So we can also learn from this. Then in terms of ashrama. Now suppose we have a situation where somebody who is in Grihastha ashrama, wants to behave like a sannyasi. Now what happens? The grihastha ashrama person, the grihastha, it is his role to take care of all the other ashrama people. He is supposed to earn his livelihood. He is supposed to have wealth, and he is supposed to spend that money what he earns. Of course, he has to earn it in a righteous way, and he is supposed to spend that for the good of all the other varnas, isn't it? So if there is somebody who is belonging to this ashrama and that person says that I will become a sannyasi, now what is going to happen? When one person does it, it may not show much result. But then when everybody starts following that, what is going to happen? Who is going to be there in the role of the grihastha to take care of the needs of society? Isn't it? Similarly, if a sannyasi says that I want to start following grihastha ashrama, and he says that I don't want this thing of renouncing the world and all that, I will come back and start enjoying the material pleasures of life. What will happen then? What happens is what we are seeing nowadays. In the name of spirituality, there are certain entities, there are certain personalities who are cheating people, isn't it? So that is what will happen. And is that a good thing? Definitely no. So like this, when we look at this concept of Swadharma and Paradharma, which respect to the Varnashrama Vyavastha, then also it is important for somebody to follow their Swadharma and not take up Paradharma. Another way in which this is explained is that there are, of course, for us being followers of Sanatana Dharma, our whole concept of Dharma is something which is totally different, isn't it? We say Dharma comes from the root Dhri, which means Dhri Dharayati, that which sustains, that which holds the world, that which ensures that everything is in a stable state. That is what is Dharma. There is no word in English which can come close to this concept itself of dharma. And for us, therefore, whatever we talk about is not restricted to only the practices of the particular Hindu religion, right? Now, if there are some people, they talk of this dharma in terms of religion. So if you look at it that way also, if you say Swadharma is your own religion, and you say Paradharma is another person's religion, then in this very shloka, we can have inspiration for the idea that converting somebody into another religion is wrong. Krishna has told, follow your dharma, even if it has faults, rather than taking up another's dharma. It is preferable to die in the practice of one's dharma than to follow the dharma of another. So when we look at it like that, we are all born into this Sanatana Dharma. So following the practices of Sanatana Dharma, we may think that there are certain practices among us which are questionable. Or we may think that there seems to be, there isn't, but there seems to be inequality in our concepts. Whereas it looks like all the other religions, the Abrahamic religions, they are all egalitarian. We feel that they are equal. But in reality, if you look at the ability to encompass everything, it is only Sanatana Dharma which has that ability to give you solutions for everything in your life. So from that point of view also, if we see, then we are born into the Sanatana Dharma. So it is far superior for us to even die hanging on strongly to our dharma, to our religion, rather than get converted and follow another person's religion. Even if there are faults in our religion, still our own religion is far superior to the religion of another person. And it can be said with this idea only that when this is our kind of concept, then there is no question of us ever trying to convert somebody of another religion into our religion. So we are all aware that when you compare the ideology of Sanatana Dharma with the ideology of the other religions, at least the major religions, then we find that people following the Sanatana Dharma have never had a desire to conquer other people. We've never had a desire to, expand our territory. We've never had a desire to make other people convert into our religion, isn't it? Why? Because this is our basic idea. Now, if we are saying that I should not convert into another religion, then where will I say that other people should convert into my religion, isn't it? So we can look at it from that point of view also. So these are the different aspects by which we can see. Of course, since we are following Swami Ramanuja's commentary, we are talking about here, Swami Ramanujacharya has said, Swadharma means Karma Yoga, which is the familiar path, and Paradharma is Jnana Yoga, which is the unfamiliar path. So in that context, we have considered this shloka for today, right? So what is it that we have to practice and learn out of this? As per the question of Arjuna, if we are going to do Karma Yoga, if there are defects in that, does it mean I will not get the results? It depends on what is the objective of that Karma Yoga that I am doing. If I am doing some actions for inferior benefits, I will not get the benefit if there is defect in my action. But if I am doing this Karma Yoga for the superior objective of attaining moksha, then even if there are small defects here and there, I am not deprived of the results from that Karma Yoga. So maybe I am doing puja. I'm not perfect at doing puja. There may be some mistakes that I'm doing when I'm performing that puja, isn't it? So does it mean that only if I'm perfect, I will do the puja? If I wait for that day of reaching perfection, that day will never come. Because it's only by doing that we get perfect at something. So what I must do whatever I can to whatever best level is possible for me. And I must keep noticing my mistakes and try to correct those mistakes. In fact, even the most accomplished of devotees, every day when they perform their daily aradhana, at the end of it, there is a shloka which is recited by everyone. At the end of daily aradhana, we say, Upachara padeshena kritana harharmaya apacharan iman sarvan kshamasva purushottama. We are telling the Lord, we are praying to the Lord that every day I have set out to do upachara for you, to perform worship to you. But I am such a sinner, I am such a lowly person that in the name of doing upachara, I don't do upachara, I do apachara. I do wrong. I do faulty things. And I'm kind of actually, by those wrong things, I'm like insulting you. But still, because you are Purushottama, you have to shamiso. You have to forgive me for that. So how much ever we may try to be perfect in our puja, at the end of it, we say that shloka. Why we say that? Because with the bhava that I know I'm making mistakes, please forgive me and accept, because the bhava that I'm doing is out of love for you. Does it mean to say that I should say, okay, I'm doing with bhava, I have love for God, so it's okay. Even if I make mistakes, I will keep making the same mistakes. That's not a quality of a good bhakta, isn't it? So we must keep trying to improve ourselves. At the same time, we have to not stop doing those actions. So this should be our attitude. Whatever we are doing, let us remember that we are doing japa, we are doing tapa, we are doing dana, we are doing whatever is prescribed in the Shastras. For what? Not to get some worldly benefit, but with the attitude that I want this to take me further towards attaining moksha. So when I do like that, definitely I will get the benefits of whatever I will have done. So that way, Karma Yoga will be easier for me to do as compared to Jnana Yoga. So this is the important shloka, and we have seen the different kinds of meanings for this shloka in today's satsang. Next time we will continue further, because then Krishna is going to explain some other concepts. So this is important for us to understand, that Krishna is telling Arjuna, your Swadharma is Karma Yoga, Paradharma is Jnana Yoga. So you are used to Karma Yoga, so you perform Karma Yoga. That is the easier path for you. And Krishna is telling this to Arjuna because he knows that whatever Arjuna does, he is going to be seen as a role model by the entire society. And that is what will influence other people. So even if Arjuna may be capable of performing Jnana Yoga, it is not meant for him to perform that Jnana Yoga. He should keep doing Karma Yoga. So we've reached the end of our satsang for today. We will offer Kritagnyata now. Let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Thank you everybody for attending, and we will meet again next Thursday. Namaskar.